to set the recording live. Other people coming in. Are we good to go, Sue? Give me a thumbs up. Thank you. Welcome, everybody, to tonight's call, a business overview of Zinzino. My name's Nigel Booth. Sue and I work our Zinzino business as a partnership. We have done for nearly 4 years now, having joined in 2019, and experienced rapid growth over that period of time. We're directors now in the organization, with a growing organization ourselves. So welcome everybody to tonight's call. This is really aimed at people looking at our potential opportunity for the first time, or indeed for a second time, or whatever. Tonight I'm going to give you the overview, really, a sort of 20,000 foot overview, and probably, hopefully, bring it together in a way in which maybe you haven't seen it done before, so that you get a much clearer picture of what it is that's on offer from Zinzino as a potential business partner, and why that might be important for you, what that offer means in terms of what it can deliver for you as an individual in terms of income potential, apart from the change of health potential, which of course I'm sure you are well aware of based on the invitation provided by the person who's got you on this call tonight. So really this is for new people who are evaluating our opportunity in a way which helps them to make an informed choice about whether they actually become partners with us or not. So hopefully that's what I'm going to help you understand a little bit more about tonight. And so without further ado, I'm just going to get into the meat of this for everyone. Bear with me a second. So Zinzino, just a little bit about the background. We're actually a global health and wellness company based in Scandinavia. We're quoted on the NASDAQ on the First North Premier Growth Market, which actually happened as a float in 2010. So we're into the 12th year of that. And this means one very important thing. It certainly was important for me when we looked at this, nearly 4 years ago. And that is that this is a publicly traded business. In other words, shares can be traded. You can buy them. You can own part of the company by being a shareholder, indeed, which we are, because we've opted to do that. And also it gives you the opportunity to check back what's happened to validate the business itself. Is it stable? Is it profitable? Is it growing? Who are the principals in it? What's the structure of the business and so on? All those kinds of things that ordinarily private companies don't give you access to. Well, Zinzino does, and it's I'm very open about that because it wants people to see it as a business that's got legitimacy and is growing and has a place in people's lives as a business potential partner. Strong foundation, double-digit growth, which I will give you a bit more about in a minute. We're also members of many local direct sales associations in the countries in which we trade in, which is now more than, we ship to more than 100 countries and 43 markets fully open. So as a partner, you have the potential to build, well, really a global business from your own living room, if that's what you want to do. Indeed, from Susan, my own point of view, we have partners in many different parts of the world without ever building a global organization in a traditional sense. And we're also committed to contributing to a better world with the Zinzino Foundation. Zinzino's, one of its core values is the empowerment and the enrichment of children around the world. In fact, the company the foundation is sponsoring children through education in India right now, around about 1,000 children already being sponsored in that way. And the goal is many more than that. So it's a way of putting back the success that that Zinzino is delivering in terms of financial success to improving and lifting the world overall. So what we're doing is what Zinzino is doing is going from guest-based nutrition really to test-based nutrition. And this is becoming a global megatrend. Well, what's a global megatrend? Well, if you think the difference that happened as a consequence of electricity or the automobile or the internet, these are things that have changed the world fundamentally. And what we're beginning to see is that change is also happening in the way that people lead their lives from a personal health perspective, and they're embracing of options in terms of food and nutrition that hitherto have not been available. And Zinzino is pioneering in that particular regard in terms of lifting the potential for test-based nutritional input as opposed to guess. I mean, Sue and I, for example, we've been supplement takers for many, many, many years. And I'll tell you our direct story in a second. But we had no idea whether they were really working or not. We just thought it was a good idea to take them. And one of the consequences of that is that we found ourselves in situations which we just thought were impossible based on the testing that was done as opposed to the guessing that we were doing. Come on to that in a moment. And one of the key things to understand here is that omega-3, most people know that this is an important thing they have to have in their diets because it's called an essential fatty acid. Now, I don't know about you, but I learned that in school many, 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 many years ago. And as a consequence of it, I know that, we should have it in the diet. So Sue and I, we've been omega-3 takers for 30 plus years before we became involved with Zinzino. And in fact, around the globe, 500 million people or thereabouts take an omega-3 supplement already. It is the largest selling or the largest purchased supplement that there is around the planet right now. Over 1 billion people take vitamins, and 1.5 billion are on some kind of form of specialized diet, for whatever reason that might be, whether it be religious or physical or otherwise. So there is this focus upon lifestyle and food and the way that interacts with us as individuals. Now, people want to know if their supplements have a positive impact or not. Does it do anything? And most of the sort of evaluation of it is anecdotal, and it's kind of how you feel rather than actually it being objective. And whereas Zinzino has now pioneered this idea of the test-based nutritional approach, and that's the game changer. And this balance test that I'm going to talk more about, sorry, wrong way around, in a minute, is what's really driving the change that we're beginning to see alongside the product that that Zinzino has produced. So what we're seeing here is that this testing profile that we've got, we're looking at tests now, and I'll show you the numbers in a moment or two, which is beginning to set the trend for people being aware that tests make a difference because it tells you whether you need something or not. So what Zinzino is doing is it's validating the need for something and then being able to validate what that something has done, as I will show you in a minute. And this is where the megatrend element of it's beginning to come in, because people are beginning to question whether they should be doing this or not. The driver is that people's attitude is saying, well, prove it to me, rather than not. I'm not guessing anymore. I want you to show me that this stuff's real, that what's happening is really working. So coming on to the core of what this is in terms of the product that Zinzino is leading the world with here, the key question was asked is, well, we all know that we need omega-3s, but what do we know about whether we are right or not, whether the omega-3 levels we have are right or not? So that's what the test actually generates. It generates a profile of the omega-3 fatty acids, or rather 11 essential fatty acids that make up part of every cell of our body. And the ideal ratio of omega-3 to 6 is 3 to 1. Why do I mention 6? Well, we have an omega-6 dominant diet, certainly in Northwestern Europe and North America, and it also in great swathes across the rest of the world, which I'll show you in a minute. That means that we know empirically that people they have too much omega-6 and not enough omega-3, because not enough people are eating enough oily fish on the planet. The vast majority of people are an average of 15 to 1 or worse. That means one very key thing, that is that the bigger the omega-3, the lack of omega-3 and the greater the dominance of omega-6 means that you open the door to the potential for long-term chronic disease. So it's not good for your body overall. And if you improve it to the sort of balance ratio that we're showing here, 3 to 1 or better, then significant things tend to happen to the way your body actually works. So here's my personal test result. Now, I did this in around May 2019. Sue and I did them pretty much at the same moment, and we were exactly the same number, 14.4 to 1, instead of 3 to 1 or better. Now, from my point of view, this was a very bad result, because the omega-3 that we'd been purchasing and consuming for a very long time, when I kind of did a back of the a back of an envelope calculation about how much money we'd spent on something that wasn't working, I was pretty peed off, to put it mildly. So we got onto the balance oil product, which is what I'm going to share with you in a moment. However, now, today, and this is the current number because I just picked it up off the website earlier, there have been 931,699 tests actually done around the world. And these are the results. It's pretty shocking, actually, because what that says is the world is sick. And I don't think I need to tell you that. You can see that in terms of the black hole that is our NHS and the demands placed upon it, which are unsustainable. And I think that's probably true for every other healthcare system around the world, particularly post-COVID. You know, they were already stressed before it. COVID kind of broke them in many ways. And as a consequence, a lot of people, particularly people like me, and I'm guessing most of you on this call tonight, are keen to take control of what's working or not working for them. They'd rather not use the services so take care of yourself rather than relying on others to do that. So here we see the world as an average is 97% out of balance, which is a pretty shocking figure when you think about it, especially when the solution's relatively straightforward. So Zinzino's concept was quite simple. It is that we should test everybody and we should have a product that works. It's not just an omega-3 supplement, because this product is proven to do the job. Now, I know that the others don't, or at least the one I was taking didn't work. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been 14.4 to 1. So the balance oil is a very special product in terms of its formula. It's uniquely put together in order to help the oil reach the part of your body that actually needs it and stay fresh to the point where it actually reaches those cells. And you can only do that by having this combination with polyphenols, which are basically antioxidants, because the omega-3 molecule in itself is very fragile. Expose it to air, it denatures really quickly. So if you're taking a pure fish oil, pure in the sense that it's not got any antioxidant formula running within it, then essentially it's going to denature before it reaches the right places. So you don't get the effect. You might be consuming enough of it, but you actually aren't getting the use of it. So the balance oil is the next generation of fish oil. And we've got a number of different offerings, as I'll cover in a second, which effectively meet different needs within the market. So there's a water version one, a water soluble version. There's a vegan version, which is patented. The vegan version, I suspect, will be the direction of travel for the company moving forward, because there is this move towards plant-based diets. That's unique in itself, but really when you think about it, it's quite natural, because the fish feed on the algae that gets through into the fish oil as it is then farmed by us or caught by us and then processed. So we're effectively stepping outside of that actual natural process, but producing it so that it works for us all. It's in one synergistic formula, which is 60% fish oil, 40% premium extra virgin olive oil with polyphenols from pre-harvested olives. Simple in concept, actually quite difficult to make work in practice. And the reason why Zinzino's product works is because it stays active in your system long enough to reach the areas that it should do. So we know that the impact of that takes around 120 days. Why is that? Because a blood spot, the blood itself changes every 120 days. So we can measure the difference between when you were first tested and what happens after that 120 days. And I'll share my answers with you on that in a second. Now, Zinzino's been very clever here, because what it's actually looked at is the major consequences of supporting your body in the very simple things it needs on an everyday basis to stay nutritionally balanced. First of all, started with omega-3 and the reason to bring into balance 3 to 6. The second thing is about the gut, because your gut actually is your first brain, not your second brain, as everybody calls it. It's just a smaller one than the one in your head. But actually, it's about the size of a dog's brain. That's how many neurons you've got in your gut. and they directly interact with the rest of your body. You know, when you hear that thing, what does your gut tell you? Well, that's a real thing. It's not just something that people say for the fun of it, because your gut and what goes on in your gut directly affects your brain and your body itself. So there's that direct physical relationship. So keeping that right as well is something that Zeno has added to in terms of the xenobiotic, which is a prebiotic, not a probiotic. I had this conversation the other day with someone about how important this actually is in normalizing gut function and effectively correcting dysbiosis. And the third step is in terms of support. And that is for your immune system in particular. You know, and this is probably the one that most people were focused on during COVID as a particular thing, because what was really killing people wasn't so much the COVID virus itself. It was the body's immune system going into overdrive. So it was producing so much chemistry to try and combat what was going on that effectively it was destroying itself from the inside. So what we have is this wonderful 3-product tripartite balance of products that actually put together better health across the board, helping you to optimize your overall health itself, which is for me is a wonderful thing to have. So who needs what we've got here, particularly in terms of the balance oil? Well, everybody, cradle to grave. It's simple. Before you're born, when you're born, and thereafter until you reach whatever time it is you choose to shuffle off. I'm planning to be around for quite a while. If I manage to make it to 100 years, I'll be quite happy. I'm not sure that'll be the case, but there you go. We'll see, won't we? But everybody needs it, because this thing about omega-3 in particular is it makes up the shell of every cell in your body. So if you don't have enough of it now, and your lifestyle isn't adapted to produce enough out of your diet, then supplementation is the way forward. And the balance oil is the only one that I know of that really works. So what can we say about it? Well, these 18 health claims are actually approved by EFSA, which is the European Food Standards Authority, Safety Authority. I beg your pardon. I always get it quite a little bit mixed up here, along with a lot of other people. But these what we see here are actually based in science. The research has already been done. We know it helps to normalize brain function, heart function, immune function. Many of you will have heard Sue's story about one of the reasons why we looked hard at Zinzino originally was because she'd had a heart attack. And one of the things that we came back to time and again was whether her omega-3 levels were correct in her diet. And actually, after the test, it kind of underlined the fact that they weren't. And that, of course, is a really important thing as far as the heart's concerned. But we can say all these things about what omega-3s actually impact in terms of bodily function, because they are essential fats. You can't get them any other way except through your diet. And more importantly as well, I suppose, we meet the standards for all of these bodies here, including GMP, Friend of the Sea, and particularly important to us is the informed sport, because our grandson is a professional elite athlete. He's a footballer, and they simply can't touch any kind of supplement if it's not informed sport accredited, because the risk is too high from their perspective of ingesting something that's a banned substance, and they get tested randomly every now and then, and so it's a very difficult thing for them to accept anything other than that is informed sport. So that's a really good thing for us, and it's a layer of credibility that's actually quite important as well. We're also vegan, halal, and so on. So all of these things important for the credibility of the business overall. So what do we know about this? 95% of people who take the balance oil supplement in particular are back in balance in 120 days. I went from 14.4 to 1 to 2 to 1 in that 120 days. Sue was a little bit slower than me, but she was recovering from all sorts of drugs and what have you as a consequence of gradually coming off those after her heart attack. So for me, this is this essentially underlined the reason to do it. And I'll be on this product for the rest of my life because I can't see any reason why I wouldn't be. So what's happened with Zinzino as a business in terms of capitalizing on this mega trend that is now being driven by it in many ways because we are the standard by which others are beginning to measure us? Well, I think this is an important graph, picture, whatever you like to call it, really. This shows the company's growth in terms of revenues in pounds over the last, since 2005, which is when the company formed, till 2021, and the 2022 results haven't been fully published yet. They'll be out, they should be out within the next 4 or 6 weeks in their final form, so we should be able to amend this slide then. And as you can see, growth has been continual. Now, this is also a credibility issue for a lot of people. When they're looking at something as a business potential, then you want to know that the business is well run. And for me, this was a particularly important thing because I have a business background. I studied business at school, at college. And one of the things I can say when I was there is that this kind of business model was never, ever touched on. I'm not even sure business schools now teach this kind of model. And which is essentially, now it's an e-commerce platform, personal referral, direct sales, whatever way you like to call it, and alongside a franchise type model. And it's a very powerful combination of ways of taking a product to market because it sidesteps the need for conventional business market reach in terms of advertising and those kinds of things. And actually, in my opinion, gives people a better product. Then the numbers tend to generally put that out. So as you can see from this, it's a solid, debt-free, you can check this in the company accounts, debt-free business that's grown year on year on year. So how does someone looking at what we do take advantage of this? Well, traditional business spends about 50% of revenue on advertising, marketing, and sales. And Zinzino is not doing anything different in that respect. In fact, when you break it down, a product at the factory gate is, if it was let's say it was £100 product when you buy it, well, a product that came out of the factory gate would be around about £10 when you take into account the costs of production. The money that's spent then in between consists of the distribution costs, the marketing costs, the sales costs, and of course the profit element that actually hits the bottom line and they share with shareholders ultimately at the end of the year. And in this instance, Zinzino has chosen to use a direct sales model to support its product development because let's go back a second to that 500 million people buying omega-3 every day. They're buying on a price point from the local chemist or health store or whatever it happens to be, and a 2-for-1 offer at £7 is nothing like the offer that Zinzino has because on the face of it, if you look at it purely from price, it looks expensive, but it's not as expensive as a product that doesn't work. And that's the point, isn't it? And we have a product that works, and we've got to show that it works. And that's the reason why the test exists. Or maybe it's the other way around, the chicken and the egg. It's the test exists and the product works because the test exists. But whatever way you look at it, that combination of things is the proof. That's the difference that Zinzino offers. It's the unique selling point that we have, because it proves the case. So if someone's interested in their health, then they're interested in supporting it in the right way, then why wouldn't they take the test? That was the question that was asked of us. Would you like to know? Well, yeah, I'd like to know. Why wouldn't I like to know? And having taken it, well, the decision was pretty straightforward because we knew that what we were taking wasn't working because otherwise the results wouldn't have been as we got them. So it's important to understand that the reason why the model is used in the way it is because it's a much more effective way of showing people the net effect of the product, which is actually outside of the norm certainly in terms of what people understand an omega-3 supplement to be. So as a Zinzino business partner, the aim is to acquire customers. Well, two aims actually. Firstly is to acquire customers because Zinzino takes care of the product, the manufacturing, the distribution, the licensing, the e-commerce platform, the logistics, the marketing, the customer support. Someone coming on board today gets an instant access to their own e-commerce platform. It's really, really, really good. Now, when you look at how much that would cost you to set up on your own, then you'll be talking thousands, hundreds of thousands probably. And that gives you between 10 and 30% commissions and residual bonuses for creating customers. After all, that's what any business is designed to do at the end of the day. The second step is helping other people or helping others to get additional partners, new business people who want to become involved. And that's why those of you looking at this for the first time tonight have been invited, because the partner who invited you to have a look would like to work with you. They think you'll see something here that may be for you and could very likely satisfy the wish that 85% of people in the UK by research say they'd like to have their own business. But most people never get there because the risks are too high. Well, with a Zinzino business, the risks are very, very low. The commitment you make is relatively small in terms of financial commitment, but the potential returns are well, life-changing. So that's about helping others to become partners as well. The aim is to educate, support your team members, which you do in conjunction with a whole load of other people all trying to do the same thing. And the partnership development and self-help and personal development that is available through the Zinzino support system is second to none. And I've never known a business that tends to look at and help people to personally develop. You certainly don't get it in a standard business, that's for sure. And they, of course, the company takes care of specific market-related services, training programs, commissions, payouts, and so on. And you can make between 15 and 0.5% commission on the basis of the activity of your new partners, and in commissions and residual bonuses. So what's the real where's the money in it? Well, this gives you this sort of stair-step ladder of income, monthly income potential based on the size of the organization that you create. What's the limit? Well, the answer is there isn't one. Everybody starts at the left-hand end, by the way. We all start at this end and move our way up based on the volume in your organization and the number of people and customers that you've created as partners. And then you can see that in graduation terms, their income rises according to how big your organization is. That what you would expect, because it's based on volume. But the really interesting thing about this is the very low risk entry point. And it's about the effort that's applied to sharing with other people, but you're not doing that on your own. You're doing that in conjunction with the sponsor and the sponsor's sponsor and the organization that helps you to gain the skills and the personal confidence to go out and share the program with others in a way which brings results that ultimately turn into income. Now, the beauty about this for me personally was I wasn't employing people anymore. Because I come from a business background. I've had my own businesses, several of them. I'm still involved as a director on the boards of several others. And I know how hard it is to manage people. Quite honestly, it's tough. And when you run a business of your own, actually, if it's small, which mine generally were, then the business owns you rather than you owning the business. What do I mean by that? Well, when you have a tough month, you pay the staff and you don't get it. And just to put that into perspective, when Sue and I first became involved in this kind of business many years ago, I watched her part-time income overtake my full-time income over 3.5 years. She was part-time herself at the time because we had a young daughter in private school. It was a pretty long way to send it to go and to deliver her and pick her up every day. She was putting in about 15 hours a week. I was putting in anything from 60 to 100 hours a week, and she was making as much money. In fact, she was making more money than I was when I kind of made a decision that I'd join her business. In fact, it became our business, and very occasionally I let it slip that it was my business, but of course it wasn't. She was the cause of it. And the consequence of that was that we haven't looked back ever since. We've always worked as a team together. And the major benefits to me are in relation to this business model: very low entry point, low risk. You're not employing people; you're working with people who want to go out and succeed for their own reasons. And the biggest buzz of all I get is helping people understand how they can do that and helping them to do that, because that's where the real reward is. We're lifting everyone by doing that across the board. So we're delivering products that do the job in a way which no others do. We're changing people's health in ways which no other products do. We're changing people's wealth because the potential's there for them to create whatever it is they want in their lives as a consequence of becoming a partner. That's what the person who invited you onto tonight's call would like you to do, because they see that potential in you. And you have the decision is simple, really. It's not so much as of does this work? It's much more a case of, can I do this? And the answer is you can if you choose to. It's just being willing to learn to make that work for yourself. So this is all about timing. Coming back to the sort of big picture again for a moment. See, Zinzino's come from the position of, the bottom end of the left-hand side here, when we're looking at the million customer mark by 2025. And this is the timing point we're at right now. But as you can see from the graph, what the company's looking for are 20 million and 100 million customers by 2050. Well, you know the growth graph we've already seen. We've seen it stepping up. And this is just an extension. It's an extrapolation of that. The numbers, in fact, it's slightly less than that. It's significantly less in terms of the actual predicted growth, because things tend to slow down the bigger you get. But the goal is still the same. And 100 million is not many people on this planet when you consider there are 7 billion of us. So you could say this is a pretty limited ambition. But what this will do is it will change 100 million people's lives in terms of their health. It'll change a lot of people who are partners into wealthy people. So what's your step now? Well, you can become a Zinzino. Actually, you've got 3 steps, haven't you? Do nothing, become a partner, or become a customer. Becoming a partner brings you into the potential to create long-term residual income. What's that mean? Well, after a certain period of time, the income and the scale of your organization puts you in a position where you don't actually have to work yourself. That's what we mean by residual income, because the organization will go on with or without you. It will go on a lot better with you, I'm sure, but it reaches a point where it becomes self-sustaining. There are lifestyle rewards, incentive trips. You can work anywhere you like, literally. You can work on the beach and you're still getting paid. You get your personal products free through the Zinzino for Free program. Sue and I haven't paid for a product, only the shipping, since the second month in which we joined Zinzino. And of course, you're changing the outcomes for people in terms of their health and their wellness. Being a Zinzino customer, you just bring that down to yourself as opposed to spreading the picture across a wider audience. But you're saving money on your monthly order by the Zinzino for Free program, as long as you're sharing this with some other people. If you've got 4 recommendations, it would give you your product for free. There's a significant discount by being a customer. And of course, there's the money back guarantee, which is essentially, if you come back in balance after your first test, you've got the option to cancel your order and get your money back. I would still suggest that you retain it, because you're still using a product that works rather than the ones that don't. And of course, you get the recommendation. So the key question for you to answer is, can I see enough here to become involved in a way which would take me on as a partner, or just as a customer, or otherwise? Or have I got more questions? If you've got more questions, then ask the person who invited you on. If you're asking them questions they can't answer, there's someone very close by who's going to be able to help you to get those answers. And ultimately, it's your decision based on what it is that you want in your life, as opposed to us selling this to you. That's not the nature of what we're trying to do here. We're sharing something that we think can make a significant difference in your life. So Zinzino is all about inspiring change in life for everybody, not just for us as partners or us as customers, but for the wider world in itself, because everybody needs what we've got. And we're going to prove that they need it by the testing program that we've set ourselves upon. So thank you everyone for your attention tonight. Just before I go, I want to mention a couple of things. On the 4th of March for existing partners, there's a partner training in Milton Keynes. If you haven't got your tickets for that yet, please get them. And for guests on tonight's call who are in or around the London area. If you want to get together with some people who are already involved and some new guests who come, then we have a meeting at the Paddington Hilton Hotel. That's the one right at the station on the 15th of March, 7 p.m. start. And we generally go for about an hour, maybe an hour and a half. And it's a bit more of an overview on this, but you also get a chance to meet some of the people who are already involved. Get your answers, get some answers to some questions if you have them. And of course, the energy is very different when you meet in person. So I hope I've shared enough with you tonight to have sparked thoughts about becoming involved if you aren't already. And for those who are already involved, hopefully I've said a few things that just make it feel that you're in the right place. So thank you everyone for your time and attention, and a good night to you all.